May the peace and mercy of Allah be upon you. Is a woman required to be a housemaid for her husband and children? Are you trying to fool us with the label, educators of generations, to sugarcoat our roles as housemaids? As a woman, am I expected to burn myself to light the path for my husband or children? Does Islam expect me to limit my life to cooking, laundry, washing, and cleaning, which exhaust my time and energy to the point of fatigue? So I end up with no time to educate myself, interact with my community, or even fulfill my religious duties. Am I required to cook for my husband and children daily? If I serve them bread and milk, does my husband have the right to blame me for being negligent in my duties? Is it okay for my husband to disdain household chores and consider washing his plate or doing laundry an insult to his masculinity? Can he blame me for not picking up after him? Do my young children, let alone the adults, have the right to live for their desires, games, and amusement, create chaos, and turn the house into a mess while I wait on everyone? Is a girl required to serve her brothers simply because she's a female and they're male? Is a woman obligated to serve her in-laws? Are there cases where a woman is forbidden to serve her husband and children? If the family is struggling financially and the wife needs to work to help her husband, doesn't he have to take on more of the household chores? Or is he within his rights to say, "It's your problem, deal with it," and expect his wife to play all the family roles, even at the expense of her health and her rights? The aim of today's episode, dear viewers, is to implement a peace agreement among family members. So give glad tidings to my slaves who listen to speech and follow the best of it. Quran translated meaning 39:17-18. We give them the glad tidings that it will bring comfort to hearts and help them set sail happily on their family journey, Allah willing. We are not here today to whitewash housework and convince you to do it, but to tell you that the condition of Muslim homes today is truly distorted and disappointing. Let's look at the reasons so that we can work together to rebuild our homes. The story starts as follows. Allah created mankind for a purpose. If they work towards this purpose, they'll live a good life. Otherwise, their life will be miserable. If you ask any Muslim, why did Allah create you? They'll reply, for worship, and recite Allah's words, which can be translated as, I have not created the jinn and mankind except to worship me. Quran 51:56. However, most Muslims, when they hear the word worship, picture a prayer rug and a rosary. They don't think about the comprehensive meaning of worship upon which families should be founded. Servitude to Allah is a rope from Allah, and hold firmly to the rope of Allah altogether, and do not become divided. Quran translated meaning 3:103. Holding on to this rope organizes our roles, priorities, and relationships. Everyone would work in harmony, like a magnet towards which iron pieces align. Problems arise when this goal is lost. Roles and priorities become mixed up. The major shared compass is lost, and everyone navigates with their own compass. The man says, I want to prove myself. Naturally, the woman would then ask, but what about me? He says, I want to fulfill my dreams. What about my dreams? So desires diverge, and the result is division, conflict, and the family breakdown. Family bonding starts with the common goal of servitude in its comprehensive sense. Servitude in its comprehensive sense means 1. All that Allah loves in terms of acts, words, and intentions. 2. Referring to Allah in all our affairs and establishing His law in our lives. 3. Acquiring ilm to find out what He wants from us and seek His pleasure. 4. Pondering Allah's cosmic signs to learn and master natural sciences. Fulfill the needs of our ummah and work towards its empowerment. He has produced you from the earth and settled you in it. QTM 11 hours 61 minutes. 5. Developing our ummah economically, industrially, and technically. 6. Finding solutions for poverty. 7. A purposeful media. 8. Discovering life-saving cures. And whoever saves a life, it is as if he saved the life of all mankind. QTM 532. 9. Redressing the imbalance of power. 10. Presenting the true religion and preventing fabrications. Thus we made you a balanced nation, so that you may be witnesses over mankind, and the messenger a witness over you. QTM 2:143. 11. Educating our children and raising them as balanced, dignified, and strong humans with a unique identity and clear goals. 12. Defending the oppressed and saving humanity from enslavement by the global system. They are those who, if we give them power in the land, they establish prayer and give zakah and enjoin what is right and forbid what is wrong. QTM 2241. We have to focus on these major goals, organize our time and interim goals around them, and keep our feet on the ground while our eyes looking towards the sky and anticipating the breeze of heaven. If our resolve weakens, these goals will reignite our enthusiasm. This is servitude in its comprehensive sense, a mercy from Allah to his worshippers. O my slaves, you can neither do me any harm, nor can you do me any good. Hadith Qudsi, related by Muslim. Whoever accepts guidance, it is only for his own good. QTM 1715. Servitude to Allah is a rope from Allah to prevent the family's tranquility from turning into misery, and the blessing of children, who are supposed to be the joy of life, from turning into a curse. If we understand this introduction, dear viewers, we can identify the cause of the problem, its solution, and the answer to many questions. Any discussion about women's housework or their role in general that doesn't take this introduction into account would be incomplete and may do more harm than good. An example is the common question: is the woman required to attend to her husband's and children's needs, such as cooking, cleaning, laundry, etc.? Our usual way to answer this question is to address the jurisprudential disagreement, the sayings of Al-Shafi'i, Abu Hanifa, Ahmad and Malik, and the preferences of the scholars who followed. Wait, finish the question. Is a woman required to serve a husband who spends his time fulfilling his desires, disdains household chores, and believes that he has an absolute entitlement to her service, simply because he's a man and she's a woman? Is a woman required to serve her children who live for trivial interests, eating, drinking, and spending hours on their PlayStation or movies, and feel entitled to their mother's service as a natural part of the sacrificial role of motherhood? The clear answer to these questions is absolutely not. Delving into the jurisprudential disagreement before studying the context gives the impression that some of the Ummah's scholars accept this distorted image, while in reality, their stature and nobility makes them reject it. Therefore, taking a fatwa ruling out of the context upon which it was established and applying it to our distorted reality is ignorance and is in no way related to fiqh, Islamic jurisprudence. On the other hand, if you ask, is a woman required to care for the home in order to support a husband who's working tirelessly to provide a decent living for her and her children? A husband whose goal is to satisfy her needs, dignify her, and protect her from the global forces trying to separate her from her guardians and throw her out into a frenzied world to suffer from what the Western woman suffers from in terms of lost dignity and honor. Under the slogan of women's economic empowerment, is she required to do housework as part of a team working toward a great goal, with the help of her children, whom she raised to be responsible, self-reliant, and caring for their parents, and supported by her husband, who does not disdain housework? If you ask the question in this way, you don't need an answer. Rather, you will answer it yourself. Even though both questions ask if the woman is required to do housework, there is a vast difference between them. You can now understand why women doing housework was not a controversial issue in the past virtuous centuries. The jurisprudential opinion was that housework was not part of the marriage contract. Yet, it wasn't an issue. The woman found pleasure in supporting her husband, caring for her home, and raising her son to be a scholar, leader, or warrior. She felt a sense of accomplishment and service for her ummah, and enjoyed her work instinctively. It was unimaginable, in view of the common goal, for her to say, "I don't want to do anything at home," because it would be like saying, "I don't want to live for a purpose, but for my desires and passions," or "I want to pursue other things, and stop supporting my husband and kids who are working to achieve great goals." Housework has only become a problem and a source for contention when the common major goal was lost, and the concept of servitude to Allah diminished in family life. You might say, all well and good, but my husband and children are not as you describe. It's your responsibility, Muslim woman, so that you don't end up a housemaid, to choose a husband who shares these goals as a start. If you are married, you need to revive the goal for everyone. Women are known for their exceptional ability to achieve the goals they set their minds to, by dwelling on them and maintaining their focus, such as when she wants new clothes or a new furniture. Imagine if your goal was to revive the correct goals for your family, and you had the perseverance and patience to achieve these goals. If your husband or children aren't receptive and they truly want you to be just a housemaid who serves them while they indulge their desires, or they're highly demanding, or your husband demands that you serve his family, not out of good companionship, kindness, or courtesy, but as an obligation, as if it's your duty. In this case, Allah doesn't require you to do these tasks. Rather, He requires you to be assertive with your children, for your benefit and theirs. You may be patient with your husband, hoping for a reward and a good outcome, and that your kindness may improve his conduct. All the while, you're upholding the basics we discussed, including your rights and the rights of your Lord over you. Sharia does not forbid you to do that as long as it's your own choice. However, if you are tasked with more than you can bear, and if doing these tasks is harmful to your soul or body, or prevents you from the duties that Allah has decreed upon you, such as prayer and pursuit of necessary knowledge, in this case we won't tell you. It's okay, be patient, sacrifice, and be the candle that burns to light the path for others. No, it's not even permissible for you to do that. Here, we should rearrange the priorities. We discussed in Women and the Pursuit of Self-Fulfillment. You are your top priority, and it's the first thing you will be held accountable for. You are accountable only for yourselves. QTM 5:105. Protect yourselves and your families from a fire. QTM 66:6. You first. It isn't permissible for you to destroy yourself and fall short in your obligations towards Allah for the pleasure of others, even in the name of motherhood. That will not benefit you. The day when one will flee from his brother, and his mother and his father, and from his wife and children. On that day, everyone will have enough concern of his own. QTM 80:34-37. You, your husband, your children, and your lives belong to Allah, Lord of the worlds. You don't belong to anyone for them to consume your physical and mental health, or obstruct your success in the basics for the sake of their trivialities or lack of responsibility. In a hadith related by Bukhari and Muslim, our Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "Obedience is required only in what is good. But sometimes there is no choice. It's not up to me. I'm forced by a harsh husband and my family. Don't acknowledge me or support me if I turn to them. Then you know that injustice is from people, not from Sharia. Your conviction of that is the beginning of the solution. When Sharia has your back, you lean on it and use it to address your family and husband. We are all Muslims, so let Allah be the judge between us. Then you make your decisions and consider your options based on their response and on what you can bear. Throughout this, you rely on your Lord, glorified is He, and trust in His wisdom, mercy, and justice. Housework, in today's families, is truly hard and repulsive. We are not here to embellish it for you or throw the full burden on you, but to present its problems, work together to fix them, and redistribute the roles. There are 5 main reasons why housework has become a problem. 1. The absence of a major common goal, which results in 2. The parents' neglect in raising children on filial piety, sense of purpose, and simplicity. This, in turn, results in children with shriveled souls who live. 3. A materialistic, demanding, and consumeristic lifestyle. 4. Men's ego, which often prevents them from participating in household chores. And finally, 5. The blurred boundary between justice and graciousness, such that a woman is obligated to do things that are optional, done out of grace and kindness. These optional things are imposed on her, and she is considered negligent when she doesn't do them. But be careful, sister. It's not Islam that created these problems, but the absence of Islam. Islam set major common goals that make the father, mother, and children share the housework happily. Islam also instructed parents to raise children well, and children to be dutiful and kind to their parents. Islam encouraged simplicity in this life, and discouraged indulgence and excess consumption, and the household duties it produces. Islam urged husbands to participate in housework, set clear boundaries between being just and being gracious, and gave the woman a choice to accept or refuse the tasks, considered by some as her duty while in reality, they are not. When we violated Islam in all of this household, chores became a heavy burden. So it's only natural that you don't find them fulfilling. What is strange is that, while the problems and distorted relationships were a result of moving away from Islam, some started judging Islam as the cause of the problems that resulted from its absence. We previously discussed the major goals. The woman who prepares food for her husband and children and provides a clean and comfortable atmosphere at home would feel joy if it was for a higher cause that everyone was working for. I know a good family that lives a purposeful life. The husband is a university professor in computer information systems, proficient at his job and preparing for his professorship, an author in international research journals, loved by his students for teaching beneficial knowledge and instilling Islamic values. Moreover, he strives to help the poor and the widowed. His honorable wife studied, while married to him, the ilm of Hadith, and achieved a doctorate in one of its specialties. Her husband supported her throughout. They are also great parents, as evidenced by the harmony in the family, their children's manners, and their success in religion and life, as far as we can tell. On International Women's Day, and in response to feministic calls, the esteemed doctor published an article in which she says, "On this International Women's Day, I admit that I love being a woman. I still love to take care of my family and cook what they love with a happy heart. I still like taking care of my home, cleaning, laundry, and folding clothes. I like to trim my little girls' nails and supervise their lessons and educational progress. I still love airing my house, deodorizing it, and polishing the glass. I still feel happy as I arrange the shelves and coordinate colors. I still love gathering my family around me and being their refuge from the harshness of this world. I still feel a sense of fulfillment and accomplishment when I provide my husband with a quiet atmosphere for sleep and rest. I still feel content when my husband is pleased with me. I still love these details. Am I normal? Or is something wrong with me? All this doesn't mean that I don't know my rights, and it absolutely does not mean that I don't have academic or societal achievements." Her husband publicly responded to her on his account with praise, gratitude, and affection. This is something that we encourage, if done tastefully, to publicize good examples at a time, when the norm is to spread negative examples, and put our youth off marriage and building the family fort. The point here, dear viewers, is that the honorable sister is working within the family institution towards common major goals, so she enjoys housework and finds fulfillment in doing it. The second factor which turns housework into a problem is poor parenting. Our next episode will discuss parenting Allah willing. But, with regards to housework, it's the parent's duty to help the child set goals, build his character, become responsible, and have a sense of identity. You're a Muslim who obeys Allah. You are dutiful and caring to your parents, because you seek a reward and paradise. They raise him to busy himself with beneficial things, not trivialities. Parenting is by example before words, and it is a shared responsibility between parents. These youngsters will help you with the housework because they were raised from childhood to be responsible, know their rights and obligations, and look after themselves and their belongings. However, they will not undertake this obligation voluntarily, unless you are a constant presence who's fully involved in their lives. Don't expect to see this in children raised by a nanny or in nurseries, while you're neglecting your success in the basics, which include caring for your family. The woman who chose not to be a parent voluntarily chose to be a mere housemaid, especially if the husband is also negligent in his parenting duties. A child whose mind and soul were not nurtured by his mother, who was not emotionally fulfilled by her, who has a strained relationship with her, will, instead of helping with housework, overeat and oversleep, follow his whims and desires, and watch silly videos. He will become a demanding consumer, a burden instead of a supporter. This takes us to the third problem: overconsumption and indulgence in the materialistic lifestyle and the additional household work this creates. In Sahih Muslim, Aisha, "Have you anything to eat?" She said, "Messenger of Allah, there is nothing with us." He said, "Then I am fasting." As simple as that. Life goes on even without a meal for that day, and it isn't the end of the world if we eat leftovers. A home where a problem may erupt over a meal is usually a home that lacks a major common goal. 4. The husband who disdains housework. Ponder the word disdains. What's more important than the physical exertion? This puts on the woman is the psychological pain. When she feels that her husband thinks it's his right to dump his things and use the house facilities without bothering to help at all, as if it's her duty to pick up after him. We tell this husband. Bukhari narrated that our mother Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, was asked, "What did the Prophet peace and blessings be upon him used to do at home?" She said, "He would busy himself serving his family. Then when it was the time for prayer he would go for it." In another hadith, she said, that he peace and blessings be upon him. He was a man like other men. He removed the fleas from his garment, milked his sheep and served himself. This is while he is the greatest man in the world. You, husband, will never be busy with anything greater than his concerns peace and blessings be upon him. He didn't just do this once or twice to avoid criticism. Rather, this is who he was. He would busy himself serving his family. He, peace and blessings be upon him, said, "The best of you is he who is best to his family, and I am the best among you to my family." So no matter how busy you are, husband, do the most menial housework when you have a chance to please your wife and teach your children, so that they and your wife know that you don't look down upon these tasks, and that it's a just matter of distributing roles and responsibilities. A sister commented on the episode, Women and the Pursuit of Self-Fulfillment. What makes all the housework and children, and sometimes even the husband's family, a woman's responsibility? Aren't the home and children a shared responsibility between the spouses? We say, dear sister, Sharia doesn't oblige the women to carry the full load, as discussed. At the same time, it is incorrect to say that the home and the children are the responsibility of both spouses equally, but moderately in between. Quran translated meaning 25:67. For a family to form and continue there are requirements and needs, expenses, protection, housing, parenting, and the responsibility for the home. Expenses, protection, and housing are the husband's responsibility. Parenting is a shared responsibility. So who's responsible for the home? Especially if the husband spends his day on his responsibilities? We say, the woman does what she can of the housework, and the husband helps her and completes what she can't do, both driven by the affection, serenity, and companionship between them. It is not the Sharia's intent to designate housework to women as an obligatory job like prayer and fasting, the neglect of which is a sin. Rather, Sharia aims to establish care and kindness between spouses. You are the operations manager, tracking the operations in your household, firsthand or through your children who are your assistants. What's important is to establish a minimum level of care, as discussed, not according to the culture of excessive consumption. Given all that you now understand, sister, the majority opinions of scholars, that housework is not part of the marriage contract. The marriage contract is based on the halal, lawful, instinctive relationship between spouses, and on parenting, if there are kids. The marriage contract doesn't include housework as an individual obligation on you specifically. At the same time, they don't say to the woman, let the chips fall where they may. It does not concern you. They acknowledge the general provisions of obedience to the husband. Whatever is halal and beneficial for the household, without harm to the woman, becomes an act of good companionship, if done to please the husband. What if the family falls into financial hardship, and the woman has to work to support the husband, with his permission or even his urging? Shouldn't he have more responsibility for the housework? Or does he have the right to say, it's your problem, deal with it, then expect her to play all the roles, even at the expense of her health and personal well-being? In this case, we say, shouldering some of the expenses is a favor from the woman, as she's not obliged to spend on her home and husband, as discussed. If she does it, she is doing him a favor, and he must help her to achieve balance in her life, so that she can succeed in the basics. He must reciprocate her kindness with kindness. The fifth problem related to housework is the blurred boundary between being just and being gracious. Marriage and family relations in Islam are based on graciousness, with each party giving more than the required minimum to the other, not stopping at the boundary of justice and refusing to do more. Islam doesn't appoint a household policeman, accountant, or judge to say, this is your duty, husband, come tidy up here. This is your duty, wife, go do this thing over there. Rigid lists and laws. Rather, Islam builds the home on rules of kindness, affection, and mercy, so that its members compete to serve each other. But at the same time, Islam is a religion that addresses reality. With its intricate details and different states, it takes into account a person's mood swings and fading resolve. So, the wife and husband may do gracious acts for each other, but they must both know that it's out of graciousness, such that, if either of them stops, for any reason, such as fading resolve, or because these favors are impacting their success in the basics, including the relationship with Allah or care for themselves, then the one who stops should not be blamed for stopping or accused of negligence. If they have a disagreement, they go back to the bounds of justice and the minimum obligations they have towards each other. Serving the husband's family is a favor done by the wife. If your wife does it, then may Allah reward her. If she doesn't, you have no right to be angry or accuse her of negligence, because it is not her religious duty, and Sharia is the reference for you both. Whether you get angry or not, your anger is irrelevant and doesn't affect the judgment by her Lord. Similarly, should a sister tend to her brother's needs? Again, the question is incomplete. If the rest of the question is, her brothers who waste their time on PlayStation and hookah or watching sports, then the clear answer is, absolutely not. Islam did not make the female a servant for the male because of his maleness, as some might think. Rather, if she was upholding priorities and achieving goals, such as the pursuit of beneficial ilm and care for the young, then the correct question becomes, shouldn't her brother, who neglects his responsibilities and lives for his whims, tend to her affairs, do the housework and serve her, so that she can do her work? Forget his mustache and broad shoulders. If her brothers were fulfilling their duties, and she wished to iron their clothes or prepare their food, then it would be a kind, gracious favor. If she's asked to do so, it should be as a favor, not an order. It shouldn't be anything too hard for her to do, or a distraction from her personal affairs such as worship or ilm. For example, a girl is asked to help her mother care for her young siblings, who will be lost, if not nurtured. Thus, life in Islam is based on charity, kindness, and graciousness. In cases of dispute, we return to the bounds of justice. When your graciousness harms you, you know how to set boundaries so you don't get lost. The woman is not required to dedicate her whole life to serving the family, or drown herself by granting favors to her husband, children, or brothers, at the expense of success in her relationship with her Lord and giving herself its due. Rather, give to each his due. Related by Bukhari. Do not step out to the circle of favors until you've mastered the circle of fulfilling duties. The same thing applies to men. Just as much of what a woman is asked to do are favors, not ordained by Sharia. A lot of what the husband spends on her is a favor not required in Sharia. How many women think that their husbands should provide enough to keep up appearances, such as what happens on social occasions? This is not ordained by Sharia, and he isn't negligent if he refuses. So, if the spouses agree on living their life with grace, then that's a blessing. If they only want justice, then it isn't fair that one is expected to be gracious while the other is expected to provide minimum justice. This is an important key for those who seek to solve family problems. Otherwise, the mediation attempts would be rejected by the spouse, who feels taken advantage of. A woman may be annoyed with her husband and stop being gracious, and he might do the same. When these boundaries are understood, the most extreme reaction between spouses would be to stop being gracious, not fall short of being just. Thus, they aren't negligent and shouldn't be blamed. The problem is that when they don't understand these boundaries, they react by abandoning their obligation to be just, and they enter into a vicious cycle of escalating antagonistic rivalry. If we understand, dear viewers, that Islam is based on integration, not individualism, on cooperation, not selfishness, and that Islam unites hearts on the major, common goal of achieving servitude to Allah, and bases family life on graciousness and justice, then we will understand the prophetic commandments that advise team members on how to treat each other, and fortifies the family institution against any external invasion. Our Prophet, peace and blessings be upon him, who said, "By the one in whose hand is the soul of Muhammad, no woman can fulfill her duty towards Allah until she fulfills her duty towards her husband." Also said, "Act kindly toward women." Our Prophet, who said to the woman about her husband, "Look to how you are with respect to him, for he is your heaven or hell." Also said, The best of you is he who is best to his family. Thus, he gauged the goodness of men by their treatment of their wives. This is Islam. Allah has given every person who has rights his due. If you understand all this, you will understand your prophet saying peace and blessing be upon him. When someone whose religion and character you are pleased with proposes to one of you, then accept his proposal, i.e. someone who shares the major goal of servitude to Allah, will also share your priorities and respects the boundaries and distribution of roles and responsibilities. And the young man will understand the prophet's saying, peace be upon him. So choose the woman who's religious and prosper. Choose the religious woman who shares all that with you, so that your home is established on a correct foundation. We will also understand the meaning of Allah's words, which can be translated as, if you obey him, you will be guided. The duty of the messenger is only to convey the message clearly. Quran 2400 hours 54. As well as, and the word of your Lord has been fulfilled in truth and in justice. None can alter his words, and he is the all-hearing, the all-knowing. QTM 6:115. Peace be upon you.